weapons and leave the Palestinian people to live in squalor. And after the October 7th attacks, it was obvious Israel had to answer in a holistic way that ends this threat forever. The president doesn't seem to understand that. And to his credit, to his defense, not many other people do. Yuval David does, Emmy Award-winning actor, host, director, and filmmaker who has won over 100 International Film Festival awards and joins us now. Yuval David, welcome.
Thank you for having me in your studio. It's an honor to be sitting here as we fight to inform the masses of facts, because we're in a battle of facts where people are disputing facts and forcing facts to fit their opinions as opposed to letting facts create and form their opinions.
Where were you October 7th?
That's when my deep trauma began. I was in Washington, D.C., opened up my phone and started to see a barrage of WhatsApp messages from people I knew who were calling out for help, for people who were looking for loved ones, wondering where they were. And that's when we started to find out what happened to people I know and to loved ones of my dear friends and colleagues.
And you knew the problem was Hamas. They wanted this fight. And the IDF gave them the fight. In a matter of weeks, they were inside the most dense population you'll ever have. And as they make their way through, world opinion begins to wane because Hamas publicity arm talked about how many casualties. And sadly, there are casualties that nobody wanted. Those are people that aren't being aimed at, unlike Hamas, who goes for civilians. Right. When the IDF, if they kill somebody innocent, that is never the intention.
Not at all. So these false claims of genocide, as if Israel is trying to commit genocide, is so wrong and is flipping the tables, because it is Hamas in their own charter that is claiming and has claimed since they've been around that they want to kill as many Jews as possible, then hunt Jews down, find them behind every rock and tree and kill them there. That's their own words.
So we're looking now at a president of the United States, and I was looking at Israeli television last night. People want to talk about an election and its unpopularity, and okay, but no one disagrees with the way he's conducting the war. People aren't pushing back on the way they're conducting the war. Yeah, they want the hostages back.
Right.
Yesterday, got it. Well, but you guys, would you say Benny Gantz would be different?
I think the main issue that is interesting now, if you look at the political spectrum and the political situation in Israel, is that even the left-leaning, progressive, liberal people are understanding what a danger Hamas is and that we have to be at war. We did not choose to be at war. The war was forced upon us, and all of us need to fight. One of the facts is the kibbutzim, the communities that were most heavily affected in the south of Israel, were the liberal kibbutzim, people who helped Palestinian people who helped Gazans, and it is those same Gazans who came and slaughtered them, who raped them, who abducted them. There are still 133 hostages held. By the way, some of those hostages are American citizens. As an American, I don't understand how the U.S. hasn't gone in there to rescue our American citizens.
Right. They never was brought up, and now we're talking about hostages, but we're talking about swaps. Now you're talking about 40 hostages coming back for 900. This is what we presented to 900 prisoners, right. Hamas members, Palestinians, and they'll return 40 of the 130 whose names we don't know, and they want a ceasefire on top of that, and Hamas doesn't want the deal. They think they could do a better deal.
That's what Hamas has been doing for more than 6 months now. Hamas was the one that broke the ceasefire that we had on October 6th. They continue to reject the offers that Israel is offering. Here's the difference between the two sides, let's call it, from Hamas and Israel. Israel is fighting for life. Hamas is fighting for death. Those are two completely different ideologies and approaches. So how are we supposed to fight a terrorist organization? By the way, it's important to note that amongst the people who attacked Israel on October 7th were Gaza civilians. It wasn't just Hamas. It was also Palestinian Islamic Jihad. How do we fight against an ideology?
How about the fact that at least 14 members of the UN Chief Aid Service, UNRWA, also involved in that? And they say, well, don't kill the whole organization just because 16 were part of the mass murder and abduction. It's crazy land.
And here's a question. Did UNRWA not know that they were in the same building with Hamas operatives and Hamas terrorists? Did UNRWA and all of these other UN organizations and UN schools that were built, did they never realize that there were tunnels that were being built underneath their schools and that they were storing weapons and rockets in the schools, in the mosques, in the hospitals. It's just BS. I'm struggling to not use foul language because I'm so angry and I'm so frustrated.
Could they have done a better job getting aid into Gaza?
Absolutely. There was so much money that's been poured into Gaza. But what happened? Hamas took over all of that. Hamas did not build
500 miles of tunnels.
Exactly. Longer than the London Underground. 500 miles of tunnels underneath Gaza. Money that could have gone to the civilians. Gaza could have been a resort town. It could have been a fabulous high-tech area. It could have been a place. It's a beautiful part of the world. But Hamas destroyed it. We are all at war with Hamas.
By the way, Yuval David is here, or Emmy award-winning actor, host, director, filmmaker, who have 100 international film festival awards. But now you're going to bat for Israel. How many times have you been there?
As an Israeli American, I'm a dual citizen. I've been there more times than I can count. I was raised spending summers and winters in Israel. My parents are Israeli, and the rest of my family's in Israel. I was just in Israel for most of March. I was there for December and January. I'm going back and forth constantly. In Israel, I advocate on behalf of American Jewry and American-Israeli relations. In the U.S., I advocate on behalf of Israeli-American relations and on behalf of Jewish Americans. We have this massive battle, and our relationship is so important. So, yeah, I go back and forth to Israel regularly. And this last trip, sitting down and meeting with wounded soldiers, people who've lost their legs, people who are teenagers and early 20-year-old, IDF, meeting with the families of hostages who are still held, who they don't know what's going on with their daughters, with their sons, with their parents, with their grandparents. The amount of trauma that we are facing is so immense. Yet I still feel safer as a Jew in Israel than I do here as a Jew in America.
Why?
Yesterday, when I was walking, had a speaking engagement yesterday, and as I was walking down the street with all of these jewelry thing that I wear
Jewish
with
stars.
Magen David and Jewish stars around my neck, this group of teenagers started yelling at me. They're like, a Jew, pretending to sneeze. I should not feel unsafe to be a Jew in America.
Have you ever had that before over this?
Constantly. I had 4 phone calls from the FBI warning me that I'm being listed by Islamist groups, by radical Antifa groups, by white supremacist groups as a prominent American Jew, whatever that means. Fortunately, the list that I saw was alphabetical, and Yuval is Y, so it's towards the bottom of the list. So these stupid losers who are looking at the lists, hopefully they'll get tired by the time they get to the bottom of the list.
And now you have a situation where we hear this in Dearborn, Michigan. Let's listen.
And this is why Imam Khomeini, who declared the International Day of Quds, this is why he would say to pour all of your chants and all of your shouts upon the head of America.
It's death to America.
Death
in
to
Dearborn,
America.
Michigan.
Yeah.
And this guy's done the same thing in 2021. He's done it before.
How is that acceptable? Look, I support freedom of speech. I fight for it. I believe in people's right to protest and to demonstrate. But when they're speaking and calling out death to America and actually calling for violence, we have to do something. So where's the American public? Where's the American leadership condemning this kind of behavior? We've seen it before in history. First, they come for the Jews. Then they come for everybody else. We are at war with radical Islam, and they have been winning battle after battle after battle. It's going to get worse. Mark my words.
Are you surprised the way President Biden seems to have caved?
Am I surprised? No. Am I shocked? Yes. Elections are coming up. I think that the Biden administration, the Democratic Party, are trying to win the votes of people they think might not go and vote. So they're trying to give them little bits of information. Am I completely pleased with the Biden administration? No. Am I completely pleased with the Democratic Party? Absolutely not. There are people who should not be in the Democratic Party because they espouse racist sentiments.
How is that? How is Hollywood and the acting community?
Really? How is Hollywood? We're seeing the silent majority, the people who rose up about so many other issues that they don't really know much about, but those hashtags were really popular. People are not rising up to condemn anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is at an all-time high, at least during my lifetime here in America. Where's the condemnation of that? How is it allowed for people to say things against Jewish people so publicly? whenever we've heard this canary in the coal mine expression all the time. When there's a rise in anti-Semitism, it's a canary in the coal mine for worse things to come. Well, you know what? The canary's dead. The coal mine has blown up because it was built by Hamas and terrorist groups. It is in our country. People like you just showed in Dearborn, Michigan, are calling out for death to America at these supposed pro-Palestinian rallies and riots and demonstrations. What is so pro-Palestinian? They're calling out for things against Jews, against Israel, against America, against democracy. They're calling for an end of the West, was just at a recent rally. What does an end to the West even mean?
They want to see a divide between the U.S. and Israel because you can't get rid of Israel if the U.S. alliance is tight with the U.S. So create a fracture, and then we'll be out of the Middle East, and Israel will be gone. The other thing to keep in mind, too, that you mentioned when you walked in is you just got banned from TikTok.
I know. I have received so many messages from social media influencers I know saying, gosh, Yuval, we're so sorry to hear that you were banned from TikTok. You must feel horrible. The truth is, I don't feel that horrible. I think TikTok is a cesspool. TikTok has been a very dangerous example of how these social media algorithms have been affecting society and influencing society. But the truth is, we are the people who affect the algorithms. We need to take ownership of social media as a way to disseminate information and share the facts and not let these algorithms affect us. But the fact is, since the 1960s, there have been implementation of Qatari money, Iranian money, different terrorist organizations that started to infiltrate the civil rights, social justice, and human rights movements in order to manipulate and brainwash and create useful idiots. Social media has now become a platform for these useful idiots to share what they think is a popular hashtag without knowing more than a headline. Social media is a dangerous place.
No joke, and we have to ban TikTok in particular.
I agree.
Do you think there's going to be any pro-Taiwan stories on TikTok?
Oh my gosh.
Do you think there's going to be any pro-Israeli stories on TikTok?
Do you know what I can't tell you because I'm banned from TikTok? All I can tell you is
I'm not on it. So.
Good for you. It's a wonderful thing. But you can find me on Instagram and X and all of these other platforms because I do believe in the importance of these platforms. And for people who do want to share the values that they believe in, to utilize these platforms to do what is right. It is up to all of us. It is the American way to support our people and share the values that we care about. And you know what? I actually brought this for you because I've been wearing these things around my necks all the time.
Which are?
This is a necklace that says, bring them home now. We still have 133 hostages who are being held. So we all have to be these walking billboards. Brian, everything you do is informing people, is empowering your audience and affecting Americans to wake up, to take action, to know what they're talking about, and to be informed so we can create this brighter future.
And
so
Gotcha.
That's what this is about.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'll definitely wear it. Number two is on the hostage situation. There's 130, but yet they could only account for 40.
Which is so heartbreaking when that news came out yesterday. So
who are the 40?
Who are the 40?
What happened to the others?
Were they brushing their teeth? Were they raped like other hostages? And especially the women and men who've been talking about sexual abuse that they faced while they were hostages. The hostages that were lucky enough to have been released in exchange for Palestinian terrorists. The stories that they have shared and the intimate stories that they shared with me in one-on-one conversations, I feel like I'm carrying all of this trauma, and I'm not the one who went through what they went through. They raped women. They raped girls as young as 8. I spoke to an 8-year-old girl who was raped by 12 men throughout the course of a week. I spoke to a man who's a father of 3 children who was raped 4 times because they wanted to emasculate him to prove that they are controlling the Yahud, controlling the Jew. Rape there is no justification for rape, yet we see these riots and demonstrations and people who are taking over public forums across the United States talking about free Palestine. Free Palestine from what? From democracy? It should be free Palestine from Hamas.
Well, I'll tell you, something's going to be happening because we're getting more and more reports about Iran trying to respond to the takeout of their leaders, these commanders over in Damascus. They never attack directly. It's always through proxies. Let's see if things change because Israel's ready for a response. Yuval, David, thanks so much. If you want to follow him on every place except TikTok, at Yuval, Y-U-V-A-L, David, at, obviously, where we can find you. Instagram, Facebook?
X, YouTube.
Yeah.
Basically everywhere. Yuval David all over other
Try
than
Truth
TikTok.
Social. I don't think they'll ban you either.
I am on Truth Social. I don't think that they'll ban me on Truth Social.
Absolutely. You have a message that people want to support. Thanks, Yuval.
Thank you, Brian.